morning, fellow Toastmasters and absent guests. No guests today. Oh, that's too bad. The purpose of my speech is that I really like to stop the suffering around money. When people come to me with budget problems, it usually means they're miserable, and I can do something to alleviate that misery. So I'm happy to bestow this on you with my rhetoric. I hope it will give you some good ideas about what a budget is, how to use it, and how to stay with it. So what is a budget? A budget is like any goal you have in life. It's a plan. You write down what your goal is, you write down the steps that you need to achieve it, and you have a much better possibility of achieving it if you follow the steps of your goal. Now, what does a budget look like? I brought these little toys to illustrate. So supposing this is the container of your budget, and into it you're going to put all the things that are your expenses. Your biggest expense for most everybody is housing. You've got your rent or mortgage, you've got your utilities, you've got insurance, you've got repairs. So that's usually the biggest expense. Then there's your car. So you've got maybe a car payment, you've got insurance, you've got, again, repairs. So that's also a big expense. Then there's food. Food covers groceries and also eating out. And there's entertainment and vacations. There are gifts. Gifts that you would give to family and friends, and also contributions that you would make to the organizations that you want to support for the work that they're doing. So let's say that is your basic essential expenses. So what's missing? Well, one of the things that's missing is this thing we're all looking forward to in 2 days of paying our taxes. Then there is blanking out. Yes, of course. The phrase pay yourself first means you are making savings. You are putting money away for retirement or for any goal that you want. So you need to have some savings. And what else? I like to think that everybody continues to educate themselves. So you may, for your profession, have to have continuing education. You may be paying off student loans from when you were being educated for your career. But whatever the situation is, everybody should have some money they are spending on education. Okay, so that's a normal budget. That's what most people have in their budget. But what if this is how much you earn, and this is in your budget? Then what? That's the big question, isn't it, August? So there's two ways of looking at this. The first way is, and everybody thinks of this one first, cut expenses. And we'll talk about that. But the other way is to earn a little extra money. If what you're missing is just a few $100s a month, just think creatively. Think what you could do on the weekend or in the evenings, running errands for somebody maybe, driving an elderly lady to her medical appointments. She would be very grateful and happy to pay you. Whatever you need to do to make the extra money, you can do that. If you choose the other route, if you choose cutting your expenses, I'm going to say this with great emphasis, please do not cut anything out completely. Then you get into the feeling of not having something that you want, you yearn for it, and you end up spending more money in the end. So it's just not a good idea. It's the same with dieting. If you cut out something, then you start yearning for it and you'll binge, and same thing with budgeting. So what you need to do is cut a sliver off everything. Now you can't cut a sliver off your taxes, you can't cut a sliver off your mortgage, but pretty much everything else you can do a little bit less without feeling as though you're depriving yourself. If you're one of the people who has to have a Starbucks coffee in the morning, see if you can do it 4 mornings a week. If you always go out to lunch, see if you can take lunch maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, take it from home. So there are ways to sort of manipulate yourself so that you don't feel as though you're missing out on anything, and yet you still have a full life. That's important. It's important to feel as though you're not depriving yourself and that you're having a full life. Of course. When you think about something that you would like and there isn't the money to have it, think outside the box, be creative, think how you could have it without spending the money for it. I'm not talking about stealing, I want to make that very clear, but there are other ways of having what you want. There's barter, so you might do some work in exchange for something that you want. If you wanted flying lessons, maybe you would go to the flying school and say, I can do whatever kind of work you do for a few hours in exchange for flying lessons. So there's that sort of thing that you could do. But just be creative, have fun with it, and see if you can find a way to have the things that you want without necessarily spending the money on them. The main thing that I wanted to say is that you should be able to sleep at night. It's really important to live within your means so that you can have an easy mind and sleep well. We were talking, a couple of us were talking about sleep deprivation on the way in here. It's really important to have a peaceful mind when you go to bed at night. One of the things that's in my book that I desperately want to share with you is this little hint. This is the moment when you're buying something and you see your hand reaching out, offering somebody your credit card or your check or your cash. Hold that moment, just hold the moment and think, will this thing I'm about to purchase enhance my life? Will it enhance my life? And if the answer is yes, then complete the motion and that's fine. But if the answer is no, don't let embarrassment stop you from saying, whoops, I changed my mind, I'm not going to buy that after all, and withdraw the payment. You will feel a lot better about yourself if you do that. So that's my advice, is use that little moment to think. Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true, and I say, to thine own budget be true. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you. At this point, we take, we have a time? 10's time. We take 1 minute so people can write down their evaluation notes, and I wanted to mention that it's a good idea during the 1 minute if the Toastmaster doesn't speak, so that people can concentrate on writing their notes. So could we have 1 minute, please?